Hey guys, so I wanted to remind you of our Patreon page where you can become a voice in what we're doing. There are all sorts of different levels that you can donate to our cause here, and it helps support the show. It helps support what we're doing. If you go to patreon.com/thehumanxp, if one of our episodes has helped you, if the work we're doing resonates with you, help us keep this ship afloat. Get to patreon.com/thehumanxp and support us if you can. It really makes a big difference.
And then I came across the television and the newspapers. They took me on and began to challenge me to do all kinds of things, and I did them all and all more further. 26 world records later, I found myself being interested by scientists. The challenge of going fully immersed with the body into ice water is where I found the real connection I was looking for. A deeper connection than we all experience in comfort zone behavior, modern daily life. And I showed people within 4 days who had no former experience in the cold to go for hours and hours on end in shorts, in freezing temperatures, up to the top of a mountain and dance the Harlem Shake up there. You know, man in ice water in those times, like 40 years ago, that was something, that was a crazy man, an idiot. Nobody goes in the ice water. Nobody, that because the cold is hostile, is a hostile force, is something you need to keep outside of yourself. I just went into nature, found out by trial and error, followed my instincts, my gut, and my intuition, and found out that the cold actually is my warm friend. You are the doctor. You are the one who is able to intervene into your chemistry right now.
What has the pharmaceutical industry done? It's become a business. It's like, there is no profit in a cure. There is nothing to be gained by curing patients. So it becomes this recurring cycle where you're addicted to drugs, opiates, and these medications that, essentially there's nothing being cured. What's up, folks? Xavier Katana here. Wow. Wim Hof, you may have heard of him. In this conversation, we go over not only just the methodology, but the science that Wim, his team, and the work that Wim is doing, how it's affecting the traditional understanding of healing and health, and how we understand our bodies and ourselves. This podcast is about reducing stress, reducing cortisol, and talking about the interconnected nature of all of us. So hopefully you guys enjoy this episode as much as I did. This was our second episode with Wim Hof, and it really is remarkable. Thank you guys so much for listening. Here is Mr. Wim Hof. The Human Experience is in session. My guest for today is Mr. Wim Hof. Wim, it is a pleasure, sir. Thank you for making the time to be on the show today.
Thank you for having me on the show, man. Let's hit it up and good. We got to, because I'm so busy with all kinds of things. Internationally, there's a whole lot of pressure of a lot of things going on, and that was not like 40 years ago, the way I began.
Right.
I thought that there must be more than meets the eye. And that actually is a jungle of nothing. And there you are in front. Somewhere inside that jungle of the mind, there must be a way to understand the world better than the way I was meeting it. I saw a lot of suffering and depression and disease and war and chronic stress and all that. I saw that in the world, and I thought there must be another way.
Yes.
I went into looking into scriptures and all kinds of things. philosophies, traditions, cultures, languages, disciplines, but none of them could meet the challenge of going fully immersed with the body into ice water.
Mm.
Is where I found the real connection I was looking for. A deeper connection than we all experience in comfort zone behavior, modern daily life.
Mm.
I found it in ice cold water. Ice cold water is, yes, it is painful. It is painful, or at least we think it is painful.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't to me, because I was a man, a seeker, the seeker of the soul surgeon. And I did all those things like karate and kung fu and yoga and all those things. But the cold water really is like a katana. It's like a knife. It's like a sharp knife. You don't feel it, but it goes right through you to the bottom of everything. Is where the mind is being stilled, and only what remains is the experience.
So there was something about the cold water that when you immersed yourself in the cold water, it snapped you into a sort of state of awareness, a hyper-conscious sort of state of awareness.
Absolutely. You can call it hyper, you can call it hypo.
Ah, yes.
Outside of the mind's conditioning. I was looking for that. I did not know at the time, by thought, hey, this is it, and this is because of that, blah, 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 blah. I had no reason, but only feeling. Mm-hmm. That feeling I followed all that winter. Every day you could find me in the water. And actually, I kept it very secluded because, man in ice water in those times, like 40 years ago, that was something, that was a crazy man, an idiot. Nobody goes in the ice water. Nobody. That because the cold is hostile, is a hostile force. It's something you need to keep outside of yourself. Mm-hmm. When you go into the cold water, you naturally go into deeper breathing. The first time you go into cold water, you automatically do inside fully. The reflex goes fully inside. You know what that is? That is that the body needs to meet up with the cold impact, with the power of the stressful impact, which is a force on the body. And therefore, it needs to change in chemistry. And how do we do that? How do we change the chemistry? By deep breathing. And that's what I did. I remained calm, but the breathing really went deep. So the chemistry there changed, and I could stay in the water. And that was very remarkable. It was a first meeting with ice water and with my idea of what I was learned with, that ice water is a hostile force, something it's going to make you sick. And I was just looking at it, witnessing, hey, but I can do it. I feel I can do it. I was playing around with the ice, surrounding ice, a thin layer of ice there was. I was playing with it. I was witnessing that idea of hostile force and all that. It was not. It made me breathe deeper and connect consciously deeper within myself. And it felt good.
Wim, do you think that you are some sort of special human, or do you think anyone can do this? This is available to anyone, right?
Yes, absolutely, Xavier. For 25 years, I did it on my own. I thought, everybody was saying this is crazy man. He is doing that. And don't do what he is doing because it's no good. It's very unhealthy. It's very dangerous and all those things. And then I came across the television and the newspapers. They took me on and began to challenge me to do all kinds of things. And I did them all and all more further. 26 world records later, I found myself being interested by scientists. And those scientists began to run experiments on me, whereas normal people cannot, say, take bacteria on, inject it, and not become sick. I did not become sick. And when people are exposed to ice cold water in an experiment, their core body temperature will go down drastically. Not me. And where the blood is very vulnerable to inflammatory markers, my blood, while being in the ice, no reaction to inflammatory markers whatsoever. And they had never seen that before in science. And then they said, but you are the Iceman. And I said, no, everybody is able to do this. I can teach people. It took me lots of years. In the end, the simplicity and the effectivity and accessibility of it all. And I showed people within 4 days who had no former experience in the cold to go for hours and hours on end in shorts, in freezing temperatures, up to the top of a mountain and dance the Harlem Shake up there. Not suffering from cold and all. No, they had reconnected with their inner depth the way nature meant it to be. And then 4 days later, all these guys, 100% score, whereas the control group was injected as well with the bacteria, they became sick, and my group, all of them, 100%, did not become sick.
Yeah, I read about this, yeah.
Wrecked the immune system. And that's the way we are built. But we think cold is a hostile force, and we live in a comfort zone behavior, and we get conditioned. No, guys, we are weakening our systems inside. And those systems are there, yes.
And Wim, I want to talk about the physiological effects of cortisol and stress. What's happening in your brain? I mean, this is not conjecture or just speculation, as you like to say. This has now become science. These people are now studying what's happening in the brain as we start to induce cold exposure and the breathing methodology. So if you could just talk about what's happening there in the brain when you're immersing yourself like this.
What's happening in the brain is that you learn to connect with the deepest part of the brain. Whereas in scientific literature, medical literature, it was stated we are not able to get into the brainstem, into the autonomic nervous system, the autonomous processes of the brain, and thus we are not able at will to go into the hormonal system, which is residing in the deepest part of the brain. It's called the periaqueductal gray hemisphere, but it's just a name. The thing is, we are able to reconnect at will to go in a very stressful environment, being able to activate at will the adrenal axis. And with that, with the adrenal axis activation, at will, you become the best of your functionality to confront the stressful situation. That is in short. Now, they not only saw in brain scans that I was connecting with the deepest part of the brain, now they are seeing that we actually are in the DNA itself. And they are doing the studies both in Michigan, the brain studies, and in San Francisco, the studies on the DNA. And they see that by learning to go into the cold, you learn not only to breathe deeper, your vascular system to become optimized, and both the deep breathing and the adaptation or the conditioning of the vascular system to be able to adapt to cold temperatures, those two, they reflect on the DNA itself, and they make protective proteins, they make them activated. Thus, the protection around the cell, that means all the cells, is being guaranteed. And with that, the longevity mechanisms of the DNA, which is the telomere, but also the inflammation on the transcription factors, which is all dealing with the same DNA. The inflammation is going down, very favorable for the transcription factors, for the genome expression. Okay, that's great. Another thing is that the length of your life is going to be longer because you are able to activate the protective proteins around the cell, which in turn helps the telomere to stay intact. And the telomere is about the cell division, and the cell division keeps on going. That means the length of your life is being affected positively. And they are doing the studies right now in San Francisco. And there are more studies going on, and a lot of publications are going to come this year of already completed studies on inflammation and chronic pain, because this shit works. They work, and they are not mine. They are work for everybody. I just went into nature, found out by trial and error, followed my instincts, my gut, and my intuition, and found out that the cold actually is my warm friend. It brings about great amounts of energy, a great vascular condition, a protection for the DNA, the ability to connect with the deepest part of my brain, and thus we take over control over our lives.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's amazing to me, and one of the reasons that I love speaking to you is because, you know, we break down what's happening scientifically within the body, in the microcosm, but also we talk about the larger perspective of the macrocosm and how it's affecting the larger picture as a whole. Because what has the pharmaceutical industry done? It's become a business. It's like there is no profit in a cure. There is nothing to be gained by curing patients. So it becomes this recurring cycle where you're addicted to drugs, opiates, and these medications that, you know, essentially there's nothing being cured. It's just a big business.
Exactly. And you're talking opiates, and that is part of the endocannabinoid system. And we had no visible connection with that possible for humans. And that is as well as stated in the medicine books. And now I have shown to go into the cannabinoid system big time. And I tell once again, now the study is going to be a comparative study where I will teach people who are dealing with the terror of the mind, like bipolar condition, and we're gonna cure them or give them back a sense of control within a couple of days after 10 years of medicines. So what is that? It is exactly as you say. People who are in the industry, their goal is not to cure you, but their goal is to keep you as a client. And that is almost it's natural almost to do that, because that's the way you make your money. But I say it is sick. It is a sick system. That money suddenly is motivated to keep people actually from real curing. We have to change our paradigm. We have to change our lifestyle, our way of thinking. We are able, as we are proving it in science over and over, we are able to become much more in control over our hormonal system and immune system, and therefore are able to master and guarantee our own health, happiness, which is mood, which is hormones, which is the connection, and strength, which is energy and the control over the adrenal axis. It's all there. It's what we show through science. People have to, if you want to stay dependent on a doctor, when you got trouble, you go to the doctor and you take pills, because the doctors, they know the pills are really not the cure. It's just killing the symptoms, killing the signals, killing the messenger, not the core. because the industry wants clients. They are not going for cures. Cures is when you go with your concentration, with your focus, and with your breathing in the cold shower. Then you are able to go to the core. The core is namely a wrong chemistry in the body, and it's sending a pain signal or other signals to show, hey, get your focus here, get your concentration here, do something about this. There is absolutely the ability to cure and to remove the cause of the wrong chemistry inside, which in the end becomes a dis-ease. That's all logical. I mean, in the animal world, there are no hospitals and no pharmacies. They cure themselves. They go within themselves. We, on top, we have a big conscious power, willpower. And we can learn to use that to cure ourselves, to direct our mind power, which is neurology, it's neural activity, together with the hormones and the breathing, is very effective to take away the cause of disease. And many chronic diseases. The professors now tell me, I work a lot with professors and doctors, they tell me in 20 years it's going to collapse, the whole system. The healthcare system is going to collapse. You know why? Because of chronic diseases. And chronic diseases, for the time being, still are able to be patched up with all kinds of pills and medicines, but at a certain moment they become invulnerable, immune to the medicines. Mm-hmm. It's great for the industry, but very bad for our health. And then what will happen with chronic diseases? It will mutate. It will change. It says, hey, you are not doing anything about this, so I'm going to look for a different way.
I find it, puzzling that around us every day, we sit on a subway and we don't know the person who's sitting next to us. We don't know their name. We're so immersed inside of technology and our phones. We don't look up out of our phones to see what's happening around us. We're so disconnected by something that is supposed to connect us. We've been disconnected from nature, from each other, from ourselves.
From each other. And with that, you get a chemical disconnection. To be socially with each other, you touch each other, you be with each other, you detense each other. Now we keep our tensions inside. There is no physical contact anymore. So the oxytocin, which is very important for our blood flow in our body to detense and to detox, it's not there. So what happens, you get, people begin to suffer a lot. Killer number one in the West is cardiovascular related diseases. And one of the factors, the causes, is the individualization. Absolutely. It has a chemical effect, and we build up a lack of oxytocin, which is very important for the blood flow to go without calcification. And then another thing is that the consciousness of ours, we can think that we can communicate by telephones, but we actually have to go back to the tribal, the direct way, talking to each other, being with each other. There is all the right chemistry going on, and through telephones, the technology goes on, but what nature shows us that we have to communicate, that we want to communicate, that we love to communicate, but we have been built so individualized that now we are in the telephone. You see everybody into the telephone because now we have a little device which goes against the way we have learned to deal with our neighbors and fellow people. In the cities, it's completely impersonal. And in the telephone, we can go back into our intimate relationship with people. How strange it has become.
Yeah.
So all the technology, great, that shows only the reflection of the possibilities of our mind, but really we have to go back to our tribal being with each other. We have to change the paradigm. So because nobody is listening to this, that's why I go through science. And then we show, hey, suddenly we are able to reconnect inside by doing some breathing and cold exposure and being in the family, like a tribal, be tribal, man. It's good for you. Chemically, it's the right thing to do. Then you become in charge, in control over your happiness, strength, and health, which is the hormonal system and the immune system. And that is the way nature built us. And we are equipped with all those tools, only we are wrongly schooled how to use them and how to guarantee these core values of lost core values, namely the guarantee to become happy, strong, and healthy.
It seems like we are on the precipice, either we find something that is a fundamental change, we correct something in the system that is so fundamentally flawed and so systemic and so widespread, and there's so much disease and it's so rampant, and people are suffering from mental illness, from depression to bipolar to so many things, and we need so badly things like this, people like you who are teaching others to connect with themselves again, to connect with nature again.
Yeah. The next step is to show this by science, and I'm doing that already. We have tens of thousands of data showing, hey man, this has never been seen before, and now there are people able within a couple of days to change the control over their physiology intensely and very deeply, and guaranteeing them to be able to say fend off bacteria, fend off inflammation, fend off depression, therefore, or infection, and it's all there. So we just give the people a choice. Try to make it as widespread possible with your podcast, and show the guys there non-dogmatically there is a choice. You want to become happy, strong, and healthy, scientifically endorsed. We got it. We found the techniques, and this is the shortcut to go back into the innate in nature of ours, which was originally built to be happy, to be able to be happy, strong, and healthy. And every time when it goes out of balance, out of this control, to come back. And those techniques we have. So our concern, you and me, Xavier, is to bring this out there and to show it. And that is the next step. Because we are not forcing people. We are no religion. We just science. Non-speculative choice you can make. There's no dogma. If you want to be happy, strong, and healthy, here it is.
Yeah. I mean, Wim, I consider the work that you're doing incredibly important. I know that you are working with many people and you're training them. They're taking your courses and they're learning about this so that they can teach to others. And in the last, few years, I mean, I think the first time that we talked, it was, you weren't as widely known, and now it's like you're on Vice, you're on so many other different programs where people are talking about your work, people are discussing your work, and the information is getting out there. I mean, what do you say to someone, struggling with depression, listening to this, and they are struggling with some level of disease? What is something they can do for themselves?
It has been made so complicated that depression, you only can do that with pills and medicines. I tell you, it's not. And psychotherapy alone is not good enough. You yourself are able to make the change. Like right now, within a half hour, begin to breathe deeply inside and let it go. Deeply inside and let go. Just keep on doing it for 30, 40 times until you feel lightheaded, loose in the body. That means that you have changed the chemistry, the blood, and the blood goes to the head. And in the brain, there is the chemistry wrong because there is a lack of serotonin, serotonin, dopamine balance. That is what is creating the depression. And now, because you are regulating the right chemistry with that blood flow to your head, you are rebalancing the dopamine, serotonin levels.
Mm-hmm.
And the depression is gone because there's balance. So there's absence of balance, there is depression, or there's over tension. You got over tension or depression. You got too much or too little. But we don't know how to keep and to change the chemistry and thus to get the balance back. And I tell you, with the free app, if you just download the free app and get into this practice, I can explain it all, but there is not too much time. And time, really, you don't need time. They made it too complicated. Let's take it on simply. You are the doctor. You are the one who is able to intervene into your chemistry right now. Deep breathing. Follow the app and you find out. We got many, many people, hundreds and hundreds, who are freed of depression. It's all not scientific, it's anecdotal, but who cares? They are healed. And so are you. So are you able to heal yourself, to make the change? Because all the stress factors of the past, they have resulted in chronic stress, causing a deregulation in the immune system, causing inflammation, going from the gut, through the gut barrier to the brain, and they are causing the depression of the dopamine, serotonin. And now you're able to turn all that process because it's biochemistry. And we have shown in hospitals how to get a hold of the biochemical processes and come in charge and consciously at will and make the change within a quarter of an hour. So do it.
What has the biggest challenge been for you through this process of, coming forward with your work? Has there been something that you've, struggled with, or something that has, personally or, business-wise, has there been anything like that?
I'm a man like everybody. I lost my wife in 95. I had 4 children. She suicided. And she was into schizophrenia. And I had no power. And now I have the power because I went on a search. I work now with those 4 kids every day together. We are happy and it's all great. And I have a new little baby. I'm back in the law, back in business, back in the law, everything. You know why? Because I went on. Because I believe there is more. And that following that belief is coming finally across something deep inside, which always was existent, only never been schooled that way. If they tell you from the start as a young kid, you are stupid, you are stupid, you are stupid, you are stupid, what do you think? That hasn't got any effect on you? Of course it does. Now, the lies, they are very devious. They're getting in with that. We have to learn about history, mathematics, and they brainwash us. They brainwash us in primary school, then in secondary school, then in the university to become a member of a society, a system which is making money. Not happiness, not strength, not health, no money. And that causes all the chronic stress. But nevertheless, they do it anyway. And I tell her, hey man, I love people. And people should go back to the senses. The common sense, wherein the core values should be instructed because people need it. So in the primary school, there needs to come subjects, not only mathematics and history and language, but happiness, strength, and health. And practicing it so they never lose the balance, the natural balance, and the sense of control within ever. Because a happy man doesn't need 6 cars to become more happy than 5 cars, or 2 houses, or 10 wives, and or women, 10 men. I don't know. You know, all these numbers like money. We are no money. We are happy beings. We are strong beings and healthy beings if we just keep in our balance. Like a baby, we let it grow up in love to become the most beautiful of beings. The mind is so beautiful if it only has natural growth and development without force, without narrowing the consciousness to become twisted, to become open, happy, strong, and healthy. That's where it goes. And then you can see in the neurology of the brain, it all connects to each other. You can see it in brain scans. Unhappy people, they have just inactivity. People who are depressed, they have inactivity in certain parts of the brain. Logically, there is no pressure there. It's not the right chemistry, and they don't know how to solve it. We are wrongly schooled. And now, what this method does is bring back the right blood flow everywhere in the brain. And with that, the innate control from the brain over the hormonal system, which is guiding all the body, is then present the way nature meant it to be. But if we have like a garden and you don't water the corners of your garden, then suddenly that becomes very dry and it dies.
Yeah.
And that's what we deprive our brains. And that's what we have to learn the kids to never get lost there in the brain and give it always the right chemistry. And that's what I show. I show it in brain scans. I show it in the blood with tens of thousands of data. This is a natural method and it works without money. It's you coming back to the belief that you are able to direct all the systems within yourself and to have peace in your mind. That means control over your brain. That means control over your chemistry. And it's there. The chemistry, as simple as it is, follow in the app, the breathing, that changes the chemistry, and your belief suddenly is able to connect your neurology, suddenly is at will, is able to direct the hormonal system and the immune system at will. It's all there. You can look it up. It's your choice. You want to be happy, strong, and healthy? It's there. We love you, but it's not about, hippie love or something. This is real strength. This is love. This is real strong, happy, and healthy.
Wim, my friend, thank you so much for your time, man. I know we spent a whole other hour doing this, and there were some sound technical issues, but you are so very gracious with your time and lending your energy and your presence here. Where can people find the WimHofMethod.com? Is that where they go to the website?
Yes, that is a way. If you go WimHofMethod.com, you get automatically at the website. That is the website, I think. Yes, that is the website. And there is the app, and you can download the app there from. If you want more, there is more, of course, but we have to make costs. We go all over the world. We are spreading the news, and we are doing science everywhere in the world. 11 universities right now, because they are finding out that this works. And these are a lot more studies, but it's all very costly. So there is a free app. You can learn it all. You can learn about the physiology and the know-how and the scientific studies. It's all there for free. If you want more, you get into the travels, into the online video course, and the events I do. You can become a therapist with us within a year, and that means
you can become a teacher of the method.
Yes, and I tell you, this will be part of the healthcare system all over the world in the coming years. It's already been accredited in the US. it's going to go all over the world. The whole world is talking about this. And why? Because it works. And why, in the end? Because it is scientifically endorsed. It shows that in many, many angles of many disciplines, scientific disciplines, that it works.
Wim, my friend, thank you so much for your time. We're going to get out of here, guys. This is The Human Experience. You have been listening to my guest, Mr. Wim Hof. Find his work at thewimhofmethod.com. Thank you guys so much for listening. You will hear from us next week. Hey, folks. I just wanted to take this moment to let you know about a new thing that we are doing here called Mindful Mondays. And basically, the idea surrounding this is there's all this talk about how brutal Mondays can be and how hard Mondays are when we are starting our week. So what we've decided to do is curate some tips for you to use to make your week a little bit brighter. What you can do is you can go to thehumanxp.com/mindful and sign up for our newsletter right there. It's for free, and it's just a little something that you can add to your week at the beginning of the week that we've decided to compile for you guys. We think you'll really like it. Everyone that's on it now has expressed a lot of interest in it, and we think it's going well. So get to thehumanxp.com/mindful and get mindful every Monday. Thank you so much for listening.